right, we are gonna do the Caddis nymph that we did Monday. Mark Lord tied it for us on Monday. So we'll dive right in. So I've got our 6.2 kc hook in the vise. It's a size 8. I'm gonna start my thread here, maybe, there we go. And you'll notice I have my hook in the vise at a little bit of an angle, and that's to allow me to get a little further down the bend here to where the barb is. And I'm gonna cut my excess thread off, start with the tail, which is going to be a clump of pheasant tail. It's also going to be our wing case. So I'm going to measure that out, roughly gap of the hook, a little longer, a little shorter, it's up to you. But I'm going to capture that in. And before I really tie that all the way up, I like to tie in my wire just to help keep everything smooth and, you know, cleaner looking. So I'm going to capture that, a couple wraps, and now I'm going to advance my thread up to where I want my thorax to begin. Again, trying to keep these pheasant tail fibers on top of the hook. I want my thorax fairly big, so I'm going to stop right there. And because we're doing a thread body, we do need to make this somewhat neat. Go down to where the tails start. I'm just going to build up a little bit of a taper. And to do that, I'm just going to go back and forth. But you'll notice I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm going to stop right about 3/4 of the way. I'm going to go back up forward to where I want my thorax. Now I'm going to take my wire and we're going to counter rib this. So I'm going to wrap it in the opposite direction that I wrapped my thread. So I'm going to go under and away instead of over and away. I'm going to get about 4 wraps here. And I'm going to capture and tie this off. I'm going to pull the pheasant and the wire back. I'm going to put some wraps in front just to help secure everything. Now, if you have an old pair of scissors, you can use that to cut your wire. Otherwise, if you bend it back on itself and then do a helicopter twisting motion like so, it'll pop right off. It'll be nice and clean. I'm actually going to fold this back. I want a little bit bigger thorax than what I left. So I'm just going to tie that pheasant tail down, get a little thread base going. I'm going to pull out, actually I'm going to adjust my hook here. Now I'm going to take our rainbow scud dub and I'm going to generously dub this onto our thread. And just remember that we want this kind of bulky because we're going to pick it out because it's going to be simulating legs. So I'm going to put quite a bit on there. I can always add more, which I know I'm going to have to. Got kind of a nice ball there. I'm going to put a little bit more on there. Keep wrapping, just making kind of a big bumpy thorax here. See how my dubbing came off there? All I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, I'm going to unwind, I'm going to retwist. I'm going to preen all this back to get a nice clean head. I'm going to move my dubbing out of the way. I'm going to fold my wing case over. Now, I'm going to turn my vise so you can see here. I want kind of a wide wing case. So I'm going to spread it out with my thumb a little bit. I'm going to pinch it. And I'm going to capture it right behind the eye. With 3 or 4 wraps. I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to tie in front because again we don't want to crowd the eye. And by pushing back, you see my threads going back. I'm actually pushing all that thread away from the eye. Now I'm going to take some scissors. I'm going to cut the waste off of here. Clean it up a little bit. And again, I'm going to get any stragglers out of the way. I'm going to whip finish now so that we can put the epoxy on the back. 2, 3, just a quick 3-turn whip finish. I tend to put epoxy on the actual thread wraps so they don't come out. And I'm going to pick this out after I put the epoxy on. So your epoxy of choice, your UV resin of choice, this is Loon Thick. Gives me a little more time to work with. And I'm just going to put a fairly generous amount. Nice big wing case. I'm going to spread it to the sides. Once you get enough on there, you can then take a bodkin and spread it to where if you missed anything, I'm going to spread it down onto these thread wraps a little bit. That's why I like using thick, because it allows, it's not going to sink in too quickly and I can work with it. We're going to take our light and we're going to cure that. You know, 10-15 seconds should be plenty. You can do longer if you just want to make sure it's going to stick. That should be good. Now I'm going to clean my bodkin off. And you can do this out of the vise, but if you have a rotary vise, you can just flip it over. I'm going to pick it out a little bit, make it buggy. And that is Mark Lord's version of Tim Flagler's Caddis.